Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to today's pre-match press conference ahead of our game against Colorado. We have midfielder Aiden O'Neill. If we have any questions, please raise your hand. We'll get started in the room with Glenn.
Sure. I want to ask you about the first three games, the unusual kind of aspects of it. Your opponent got red carded and down a player in each game, so the amount of minutes you've played with a man advantage is pretty considerable. How have you seen that go from game to game? I mean, when you just look at it from the surface, it looks like you figured it out better each game, maybe. What do you think?
Yeah, I'll agree with you. I think we've definitely improved. Like, obviously, the first game, they went down to 10, a bit later on in the game. And we talked about that, and we wanted to actually, do better than we did and to get the 3 points there. But I think in the end, it was a good point away. And then, obviously in the last two games, I think it showed, especially the last one, our mentality to, finish the game off, especially as we came out in the second half. I think the mentality of our group was excellent.
The piece of you playing in the midfield, so it really came into focus last year with you and Perea, and then Perea got injured, and then it was a little slow start for you this year because you had a nagging little issue. So how are you right now, and now trying to figure out midfield partners again, but Keaton Parks has been there the last two games?
Yeah, I had a little small problem in pre-season, but we got that sorted, and I was available for the start of the season, which was good. But yeah, it's obviously awesome having Keats back. When he can get forward and get 2 goals like he did last game was really cool, and it was just good to see him back playing football.
So playing beside him and the desire for him to go forward, that's kind of his desire thing, and that could be the coaching team's desire. But so that makes your role even a little more critical. You get maybe caught a little more isolated on counters. How does that impact you playing next to Keaton? Yeah,
he's such a presence, getting in the box as well. And I think, his timing and that, is really good, and it's a big, thing for us, getting more players in the box. So, it does make, my role in front there probably a little bit more critical, like you said, shutting down their opportunities to break on us and making sure that doesn't happen.
Thank you.
Glenn kind of asked about the abnormalities of the red card. I'm kind of curious, when you kind of think back to the last couple games, is it the style of play that you guys have been implementing that's kind of forced these other teams to make these mistakes? Is there a little bit of gamesmanship where you're getting under their skin, where it's helping kind of push those break buttons for that to happen? What kind of has been the secret sauce to forcing them to make so many errors like that?
Yeah, I think it's got a lot to do with, the way that we're playing and, what we're doing on the field. That's basically where it's all come from, playing balls in behind. The last one, I think it was Maxi that played it. And it creates that, that scenario and that situation. It was definitely a red card.
Have you ever seen anything kind of as kooky like that in your career?
No, I don't think I have. No.
Colorado's been an interesting team. They didn't play very well when they played Seattle, yet when they came home they played a lot better and maybe even a little differently than they had in the Seattle game. What have you guys seen, and where do you think you might have an advantage?
Yeah, they look like a quality team. A team that, if you give them too many chances, that they'll score goals. So full focus on ourselves and making sure that, we go out there again at home and play the style of football that we want to play, and just enjoy our football as well.
I don't know if you self-assess every game that you play in. It seemed from at least our perspective or my perspective that might have been in the last game probably the best game that you've played here since arriving. I thought you were the best player on the field. Do you feel, is it a thing that you feel more comfortable or it was just one of those games where everything just seemed to go very right for you?
Yeah, I think as a 6, there is a lot going on. And it does take time, a lot of the times, to settle in and get to know players really well. And I feel, from this season and towards the back end of last year, I started to feel really comfortable in there, and getting those connections, because there might always not be so much time to make them, but when you're quite aware of where people are going to be, and then you just get on the same page, and I feel like that's starting to happen even more.
Thank you.
Onto the Zoom, we'll go with Michael Ander.
Hey, Aiden, it's Mike Ander from Blue City Radio. Thanks as always for the time. Question about the depth chart. In your opinion, obviously Kai is someone who can play in your role, but there's a lot of young kids that are on this roster. Talk to me about the way you help them develop, and who you think is the person that would be following up. Should Pascal say, hey, he needs a rest?
Yeah, I think there's quite a few young lads, that have great qualities, and when the timing's right, I'm sure they'll get opportunities. But I'm not going to single out anyone, to be honest.
Michael Allen.
Hi, Michael Allen from Blue City Radio and Pro Soccer. I just wondering if you could talk a little bit about, you mentioned, different midfield partners in Keaton Parks, but you also got a fellow countryman coming in that is behind you on the back line and also can step into the midfield as well. Is there any sort of translation between your familiarity with him that made it easier, better? Can you talk a little bit about your relationship together in that midfield and in that defensive stance?
Yeah, we played together when I was a little bit, both younger, in Brisbane. So of course with the national team, we've played a couple of games together. So we've got a connection there, and obviously we're both from Australia, which, is awesome to have him here, and he's such a good person, which, they are big on bringing good people and good players here. So he's fit in really quickly, and we're really lucky to have him.
Joe?
Hey, and on Kai coming, how much of a factor kind of was your input to management at the club to kind of get a little more of an inside idea of what he's like as a player and also off the field?
Yeah, they obviously asked me, but it must have been pretty good because, they asked me, and then a couple of weeks later he was here. So, it was obviously nice to be asked about him, and I gave my honest opinion, which is obviously a good one.
Anyone else? Go ahead,
So
Glenn.
actually, my broadcast partner during commentary, we were talking about the Socceroos, you two in particular, you and Kai, and he had played with Lucas Neal, Tim Cahill. He played with 3 or 4 internationals, and he said he talked about how there was a certain, and he said it in a good way, a good arrogance, confidence, comfortable in their own skin, and he says he kind of senses that even he's seeing you more, but also watching Kai. Is there any kind of truth to sort of the Aussie way that way? Is there anything that's developed in that matter based on where you grew up? Or
I think we're quite comfortable with who we are as people. I think that can be a sense of assurance in ourselves, and quite humble. I think we're quite humble people. But sure of ourselves and our abilities as well.
Great. Thank you, everybody.